all in all, I didn't really too care much for the distortion of the camera, like the form, which I know is kind of forming to the astronaut's view. It didn't feel good to me at all. I think I know what they were trying to do, but it just distorted my experience. But but the biggest thing that I really noticed was there was no sound like that synergized with the aesthetic of it that created this creepy feel to it. Like I didn't feel like I was in fear or the atmosphere was gloomy and terrifying. So at the end of the day, while I do understand what they were trying to do, this, you know, post 90s style aesthetic didn't really give me those fear bases that I would be looking for.
Well, and that's my response is, honestly, I don't see it as a horror game. I don't believe that it drew me in as one either. I think it's more set to like a survival. Um, can you survive? Can you get through the puzzles? Can you get through this, that, and the other? And honestly, with the art style, it didn't bother me that the mask was there. It just kind of, I thought it was kind of cool, to be honest. Um, because I do like little tiny pieces like that, even though it didn't really do anything to the game, nor did it really hurt the game.
Yeah, I can see your point. To me, I would like a clear, crisp view of it. But I get it. I think that the game, maybe that's my problem, is I walked into this with the expectation that it's going to be like a scary game, a fear based game, a thriller type style game. Not not what I experienced.
No, no, not at all. Yeah, and it did say it was a horror game, so I was kind of expecting a little bit. They do have some jump scares. They do have a little bit of this, that, and the other. Um, which
Yeah.
again, the graphics quality to those were just it really wasn't there, so it does you just kind of like what the fuck was that? Then you just go back and look at it because you're not scared. You're like, oh, okay, I see what they're trying to do.
Oh yeah, man. I get it. I don't know. I don't know. I think there was a contradiction between what I thought it was going to be and what it actually was, how it was advertised. And you're right. There were a few jump scares, but the environment, just from the eye candy, ear snacks perspective, it didn't marry those two together enough to create that atmosphere that I would have been expecting.
No, and I would agree with that as well. That it really did not. I mean, for what the controls were, it was fine. I didn't really see any kind of like hesitation. I didn't really see any kind of clunkiness apart from um just the way you use different items or having to switch through different items. That was a little bit of a clunkiness to it. But as far as like the core controls, it was fairly responsive, and yeah, I feel like I was walking through a fucking sandstorm.
Yeah, I think my biggest issue is, and it may not. I liked the game holistically from the responsive controls. It was good. It when I moved left, it moved left, right? I do think the hitboxes were a little weird because I really feel like I kept dying to that yellow face, whatever he was. And I could have sworn I was out of his way, but I mean, either or. But I do think that, it did feel crisp. Um, I do think that the items and the shifting and the back and forth, those seems pretty clunky. I wasn't a big fan of that. There were times where I was trying to shoot the gun and my lamp, and they would go off at the same time. There was really no distinctive item that I could use at one single time. Not to mention, from a visual standpoint, you walked around with like a boombox the whole damn time, and I literally saw just a fucking boombox running in front of you. It really didn't really kind of like feel like that was I don't know if that was intended, or I guess it was intended. Or maybe the game is just better played in VR, and maybe, from because we played this non VR. So maybe that's a part of the clunkiness that I was feeling.
Well, I mean, this game was originally made as a non-VR, and their last major update is what added the VR to it.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah. All right. So I mean, my case still stands. I, I I didn't like the item usage and how you would distinctively scroll through your inventory. Another thing that I noticed was from a clunky perspective, I could have sworn I was crouching half the time and those monsters still saw me. But then sometimes I felt like the line of sight was broken and I was fine. So I did feel like there was some inconsistencies there with old Tentacle Boggins, whatever his name is.
Eh, that dude. Yeah, no, there were times where he's just like, "Oh, I see you through the table," and then other times he's just like, "Well, I don't know, maybe I just walk this way, see what's over there."
Yeah.
Yeah, there
So
there were definitely some inconsistencies.
oh, 100%. So I think that like the movement sides were pretty smooth, but there were some mechanical pieces that I felt were a little clunky.
Uh, the game didn't
Yeah.
even have an intro. It went straight from the intro to this is your character to a place that I don't even know where the hell that shit is.
Yeah. Find moon. Find moon. Um, I agree with that. I think that the narrative, and I didn't really stop and read all these journals and books that I could have. I didn't really feel compelled to do so. I will
I
say,
did actually check a few of those out, and it's mostly just tutorial help.
oh, okay. The one thing I will say is beyond the lacking story hooks and depth of the lore, I I do like the quest log and how it kept on uh, showing up on the left side of the screen. So if you ran into something like I picked up a shovel, had no idea what to do with said shovel, there was still like a quest that popped up. I didn't. It just popped up in my quest log, so it does kind of help feed that pacing to make sure you're always accomplishing something so you're not walking around aimlessly. So I like that perspective. But from the depth of the lore, I didn't really feel too compelled to dive into it.
No, and I was actually expecting maybe just a little bit more from the manager instead of him saying, "Well, this is what you got, so do that." Like the first one that we came across was, "What's this big cat?" And it said, "Well, I don't know what you're talking about, but I wouldn't touch it." That's it. Like it really didn't give you anything to go off with.
Right. And the manager was there to help keep pacing. That other time where we had a situation where we had put an input device, we had the monitor, and we had to ask it, what's the password? And it just gives it to us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not
All in
really
all,
too much there.
yeah, I wasn't too thrilled with the story. Wasn't really engaged in that, but I do appreciate the pacing.
hmm Um, the frame rate, the loading times, dude. They kept fairly, consistent on my rig here, and this thing is old. So I mean, optimization was actually fairly good on the PC.
Yeah. I agree with you. I had no problems whatsoever with my performance, the loading. There was no crashing. It seemed pretty stable.
hmm
Um,
And
the other part of this is to talk about, is this beyond the performance? Is it worth replay value? Like, what's its quantifiable replay value?
well, unless it was to randomize the world and it's a different game every single time you play it. Without that, it's probably a single playthrough and you're done. I don't believe that there would be a time for me to be like, yeah, remember that game? I want to go play that shit again. Hell yeah. It's the same shit.
Oh, I didn't know that. So there's no procedurally generated stuff.
Not that I found, but I don't know.
Okay. Well, I can tell you from my perspective, um, I didn't like the fact it seems a little long for me. Um, because it's so long, I don't know if I really want to continue to play it time and time again. When you play these kind, or when I play these kind of games, I'm really looking for like a short stint, 4 or 5 juggles through some kind of like what would you call it, like tasks or whatever it is. You want to create that replay value to go back and be scared all the time and not have to have these long drawn out periods of time where there's nothing really to be afraid of. It's just a puzzle. It takes away from that fear factor for me.
Yeah, I do agree with that. When you get into a certain point, and I can kind of see what they were trying to do, right? So they're like, "Oh, here's the calm," and you get so used to it that then all of a sudden some shit happens, and you're supposed to provoke the fear out of you or whatnot. I think that might have been what they were going with.
I mean, mayhaps. I don't know. I do know though, like with the long drawn out periods of time between scares or new obstacles or new puzzles, it felt very dry, and I didn't really feel like I was going to get that excitement, that thrill. Like I was never on the suspense. Like I'm wondering what's going to be around this corner. It just felt I was just going through a puzzle game.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's pretty much what it is at this point. It's just a
Yeah,
puzzle game.
and I think that takes away from replay value. So, just in my humble opinion, when you have games like this that are going to be horror based, they seem to be more stimulating and have higher replay value. Shorter stint games, Phasmophobia, Devour, even Repo, they have smaller stints. You can still have progression without having this long narrative. It doesn't keep the audience captivated.
No, it doesn't. And there were times where we're running back and forth between the same buildings, and it was the same thing we saw every time. You just learned how to get around it. Fun with it, but I don't think it would be fun with a individual person, like a solo play. I doubt that you would have near as much fun as you would with co-op. So it's almost built that way.
Yeah, I could see that. It wasn't a bad game. I didn't have a good time. I just don't see it compellingly calling me back to it. Like fuck the moon. I don't care.
Yeah, fuck the moon.
So,
But
but
there is the other, you know, little bit to it. And we've played a couple of survival horror games and stuff like that. Even when it comes to the puzzle, they keep them usually fairly short, and you never know what's happening next. Let's just say, for instance, devour or whatnot. Or you have to kind of find things to be able to get back to some place. It's just a big puzzle, but it's a single round of that puzzle, and you never know where this bitch gonna be. All right, that thing will come out of nowhere, shoot you in the head.
yeah, I think that's part of what I was trying to get at. You have that suspense built up, knowing that whatever this creature, this looming monstrosity, could pop around a corner, you know, and drop of a dime. But with this game, it felt here's your new agenda, and it's like a small trivial obstacle you have to overcome that lasted a little bit longer than it probably should have, and it removed that mysticism, that eeriness. I think that the developer would probably be trying to give us. That experience was just missing for me. But I do like other games like that that do have these smaller, stinted levels or whatever we want to call it, experiences that, and they're slightly different, not always different. Devour is pretty straightforward, but there's also a sense of replayability to get it better and better and better, especially when you add new people in there. They do, I think, move some shit around a little bit, so you're still looking for other things. It's not always in the same space. So it
Hmm.
doesn't have to be so broad to say change everything, every single new level, but there should be enough to where you can stimulate that replayability and have fun with it. But this game
Yeah, I
just
mean,
didn't do that for me.
no, it was missing the replayability for sure.
100%.